All right, welcome to the show, y'all. It is Wednesday, June 10th, and everybody needs to pucker their booty holes and prepare because it's about to get biblical in this bitch, okay? Just an endless tsunami of news that I got to cover for you. All hell is breaking loose as Trump is carpet bombing Iran and attacking water supplies, which is an obvious war crime. So we'll talk about that. I got a bunch of videos and a bunch of updates. We also have Fox News yet again for a second time just came after yours truly. And of course, it's going to backfire spectacularly because I'm going to respond to them. We also have Trump is very clearly destroying the World Cup right in front of our eyes as a bunch of teams are harassed as they're trying to get in the country, as the logistics of the thing are falling apart. They basically kidnapped one of the best referees in the world. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. This country was in no shape whatsoever to host a World Cup. It's a fucking travesty that we're even trying to do that. They should have pulled this out of here a long time ago. We'll also get to Trump versus Stephen A. Smith. Trump went after Stephen A. Smith because Stephen A. Smith correctly said that Trump's presence led to the Knicks losing Game 3 at MSG, okay, in the NBA Finals. Stephen A. is going to clap back here. I'll break all that down for you. We have Graham PLATNER absolutely humiliating all of his doubters and handing out big fat juicy L's, okay? And later on, Dave Rubin completely panics as his career implodes right in front of his eyes and he falls apart and he has zero future prospects. So we'll talk about all that and more. You guys know the deal, man. Everybody do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel. Click that bell icon. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. You can also support the show on Patreon. I only ask because this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. I never will. I'm very proud of that fact. So we're reliant on you guys giving $2 a month or $5 a month or $7 a month on Patreon. Again, thank you to all of you who do support the show. Thank you to everybody who tips with the thanks button on YouTube as well. That also goes a long way. You can also sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below. And go subscribe to Corin's World. I'm glad you guys came through when we were live during Game 3 of the NBA Finals. I'm happy all you guys. In fact, I think we had higher viewership than we normally do on Kyle and Corin for the NBA Finals. So that was interesting and that was fun. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive right in. And let's start with catastrophic news. Okay, so Clash Report says, big, Iran agreed to halt fire against Israel after the U.S. unfroze $3 billion in Iranian assets flown from Abu Dhabi to Tehran, despite active airspace restrictions, according to an IRGC-affiliated news agency. The deal was brokered via a Qatari delegation, with the U.S. also promising Israel would restrain its attacks on Lebanon. So, at the beginning of the day yesterday, this is what we heard. Okay, you look at that, you go, oh, this is good news. Maybe we actually are close to a grander deal if they're already making side deals like this. Okay, well, everything took a turn for the worse basically immediately after that. So we see here from Clash Report, Trump said the following. I have just been informed by our great military that last night the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. There were 2 pilots involved. Both are safe and uninjured. Nevertheless, the United States must of necessity respond to this attack. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, I need to point out, Trump is claiming that the Iranians used a drone to take down an Apache helicopter. The Iranians immediately came out and said, that's not true. Okay, that's kind of a big deal because they've never hidden before, right? Like if they commit an attack, they then post about committing the attack and they stand on that shit 10 toes down with their chest puffed out. So for them to come out and say, we don't know what you're talking about. We didn't do that at all. That leads me to believe, damn, they definitely didn't do that. So who did? And that's where you have the speculation, well, who has the incentive to do it? Israel would have the incentive to do it because they want the hot war to pop off again. They want the U.S. to continue to carpet bomb Iran. Okay? So that's the speculation. Now, I need to be clear. None of that is verified right now. I have no actual conclusive evidence that Israel was the one that bombed the helicopter, but there's rampant speculation around that because, again, Iran is very clearly denying this, and they've never denied stuff before unless they didn't actually do it. Then we get this. Breaking, U.S. Central Command says it has begun launching self-defense strikes against Iran at Trump's direction. U.S. Central Command forces began launching self-defense strikes against Iran at 5 p.m. Eastern Time today at the Commander-in-Chief's direction in response to yesterday's downing of a U.S. Army Apache helicopter. The mission is a proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression. Now, as I told you, the Iranians are saying, we didn't do that shit. If we did, we would have told you. We did not do that shit. So here we go. Trump is dropping bombs on Iran in the middle of the night, striking Sirik and Keshem Island. Here's some of the video of that. Look at this. Now, I'm no military expert. I'm no military expert at all. But when I see this, the immediate word that comes to mind is carpet bombing. This looks like carpet bombing. So it's not even a small attack. It's seemingly a very, very large attack. These are massive, massive explosions that are happening. Okay? So this is basically going right back to square one. The idea of any fake ceasefire or halt in hostilities is completely and utterly dead and gone. Everybody knows that now. Look at this. Imminent strike warning. 9 U.S. tankers positioned for large-scale air operations over the Middle East. This is the infrastructure for sustained offensive operations. For context, under normal operations, 2 to 3 tankers are employed. During the 2025 Iran war, 4 to 6 tankers were used for ops. So, in other words, we're prepared for long-term hostilities, bro. The United States is ready to do this long-term, which is not a good sign because I think that's how Trump views his way out of this. Is sustained war, basically make them surrender, make them cave, make them give in to American demands, when there is quite literally, and I'm not kidding about this, a 0% chance they would give in to American demands. They have the upper hand because they control the Strait of Hormuz. Full stop. That's it. They have veto power over the global economy. They're not giving up Dickie McGee's axe. Okay, so not good. It looks like the United States is prepared for long-term hostilities. All right, more. Breaking, U.S. strikes have now hit 2 drinking water tanks in Sirik, southern Iraq, cutting off all drinking water in the district. Iran has warned 2 hours ago it will immediately place all regional Gulf energy infrastructure under continuous missile fire. And with this U.S. attack, water desalination infrastructure, which the Gulf depends on for over 90%, would specifically become major targets. Now we're talking about apocalyptic type scenarios here, okay? If Iran follows through with this, we're like entering a new dark age. You'd have to like empty out the Middle East. Life couldn't be sustained in these places if you get rid of their desalination plants. If you attack their energy infrastructure, you are guaranteed to plunge the globe into a depression. Okay? This is point of no return type shit is what we're looking at here. That's the only way to describe this accurately. All right, statement from the IRGC. Getting ready to hit back at U.S. bases. Iran's Khatam al-Anbaya central headquarters. In response to the aggression of the terrorist U.S. Army in some southern parts of the country under the false pretext of the crash of its helicopter, some U.S. bases in the region were powerfully attacked by the heroic army of the Islamic Republic and the brave men of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The criminal U.S. Army should know that if it repeats aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran, more severe and widespread attacks will be carried out against the designated target banks in the region. So, the good news about this is, if they stay limited to just U.S. bases, then that's actually not a worst-case scenario. Now, by the way, our bases in the region, at least 16 of them, are already barbecue chicken, burnt to a crisp, bombed like crazy, very targeted strikes that Iran was able to pull off that we didn't know they had the ability to pull off. But if they stay limited to just the bases, the U.S. should be thanking our lucky stars because they could do a hell of a lot worse than that if they go after the energy infrastructure in the Middle East or if they go after the desalination plants. And with Trump attacking their water, I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. In an eye for an eye type situation, they would be justified in going after the water. Okay? All right. More. Visual confirmation of an IRGC strike. And it's on the U.S. 5th Fleet Base in Bahrain. So if you pay close attention here, you'll be able to see it in the distance. Look at this. See that? See the explosion in the distance there? We also have this. Breaking. President Trump exclusively told Trey Yingst that the U.S. is nearing a decision to launch additional strikes targeting Iranian power plants and bridges, accusing Tehran of tapping the United States along through prolonged negotiations. Okay, this makes me want to shove my nutsack in a waffle iron. Okay? It makes me want to take a pineapple and shove it up my dick hole. Why do I say that? Because the exact opposite is true. The U.S. and Israel have been tapping Iran along throughout the so-called negotiations. This is nonsense. They flipped the reality exactly on its head. And by the way, he's also just simply casually announcing, I'm going to do more war crimes. Call me the war crimes man. You should arrest me and throw me in The Hague. Because he's saying we're going to go after Iranian power plants and bridges. What? You're going to go after power plants and bridges? That's not a thing. Like, that's not a thing that is legal, that is allowable, that is okay. And he's just casually announcing it like it's nothing. Oh my God. I can't with these people, man. They're so high on their own supply that they feel like, they can say anything and they can do anything and people won't look at them sideways. Like, bro, the world looks at you now like you're new Adolf Hitler. You want to know why? Because you're acting like new Adolf Hitler. And he just still, plows ahead, again, like it's nothing, like a bull in a china shop. Okay, Ken Klibenstein says, the U.S. has quietly deployed the 82nd Airborne Paratroopers to Israel, per deployment orders leaked to me. The deployment is tied to a new U.S.-Israel joint contingency plan for seizing Karg Island and carving out coastal territory inside Iran. Again, fucking teenage boy fantasy bullshit about, like, I know how we'll win the war, we'll seize the island and take over their oil infrastructure. Like, are you fucking stupid? I swear to God, man, I keep calling it a baboon regime because they genuinely and sincerely have the IQ of baboons. Like, they have no idea what they're doing. Trump is up shit's creek without a paddle here. He's clueless. He's clueless. And it shows. It shows with every decision, plunging us further and further into a crisis, both economically and otherwise. All right, more. Then Trump comes out and says the following. Iran's military is a complete and total mess. Much of it, like their Navy and Air Force, doesn't even exist anymore. They have been completely defeated. Iran is all talk and no action, he says, as Iran is literally counter-striking right at that moment he's posting this. The bully of the Middle East is dead. They've taken too long to negotiate a deal that would have been great for them. Now they will have to pay the price. First of all, you're posting like a literal villain in a movie, okay? Second of all, pay what price, bitch? Again, they have the upper hand. They control the Strait of Hormuz. They have control over the global economy, you fat dipshit. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he popped his Adderall and he was feeling saucy and he goes out there and he's shooting from the hip and saying this shit. I don't know, but this is completely insane that we're witnessing this right now. Okay, Dropsite says, at least 59 Israeli attacks recorded across southern Lebanon on Tuesday. On Tuesday. So again, tell me more about that fake ceasefire. Tell me more about how Iran's the aggressor when Israel literally, they are addicted to fucking endless war or genocide like a fucking drug addict is addicted to drugs. That's what this is. 59 attacks across southern Lebanon on Tuesday alone. Israeli warplanes launched a series of overnight airstrikes targeting civilian buildings in Nabatea City and Haruf, according to Press TV correspondent Hadi Hotate, who documented 59 Israeli attacks across southern Lebanon on June 9th. By the numbers, there were 37 fighter jet airstrikes, 10 drone strikes, 12 artillery bombardments. More than 50 bombs were reportedly used. Farsir and Nabatea were hit hardest, with 3 strikes each following Haruf, Brachit, Jibchit, Tool, sorry, I know I'm mispronouncing all this, Shrifa, Kardali, Yatar, and Kafar Rumani. Okay, so this speaks for itself. You have the Israeli military completely and utterly insane and unhinged and just like killing anything and everything in sight. I should also point this out as well. So here we have a former CIA analyst, Larry Johnson, and he says that there's a very clear purpose as to what's going on here. Listen.
He is under pressure from the Zionist crowd in the United States. And let me emphasize, that's not Jewish. The Zionists included a lot of Christians like Mike Huckabee, but they are insistent upon destroying Iran. They don't want a deal with Iran. And in fact, that's why this attack that the Israelis launched on Sunday in Dahia, in the suburb of Beirut, that was launched specifically to try to provoke the conflict with Iran and to try to get the United States to commit to re-engage in the attack on Iran. And Trump resisted that. He held out. He's held out for 2+ days. But I think the pressure finally got to him. They have manufactured this incident.
So do you understand what he's saying there? Israel relentlessly bombing southern Lebanon and Beirut and taking more and more territory and committing war crime after war crime. That was purposeful, according to this former CIA analyst, because Israel knew Iran would be forced to respond. Then when Iran responds, Israel's going to turn around and play the victim and go, oh my word, oh my days, how could we? Poor little old us were hit for no reason whatsoever. And then Trump, being the fucking rube dipshit he is, Eventually he's like, okay, let's go back to full war. Like, bro, we are running low in the strategic oil reserves, okay? All of our little tricks to try to keep gas under $5 a gallon, we're running out of them, okay? Any week now, we're gonna have another massive spike in oil prices because they're not even trying at this point to get the Strait of Hormuz open. Like I said, baboon regime. Okay, breaking. Taibeh, the last Palestinian Christian village in the West Bank, is on fire. Local residents report that Israeli settlers torched the fields. By the way, this is on a regular basis now. This is on a daily basis. There are pogroms in the West Bank on a daily basis. You have Orthodox, extremist, illegal Israeli settlers going around like madmen, assaulting grandmas, stealing land, lighting, olive fields on fire. And now you see this. Let me show you this. This insane video here. Wow. Just nightmare scenario. Okay, here we go. You can see it from a distance here. The fire burning in the background. Okay? So at the same time, you have the Israeli government, we're cutting off all food and humanitarian aid going into Gaza. They're ramping up, I should say, the pogroms in the West Bank, and they're stealing all of South Lebanon, bombing Beirut, stealing more and more territory in Lebanon. They're a rabid, unhinged dog, is what they are. And the entire time they do this, they play the victim. That's what happens. Okay, then we get this breaking. After setting the Christian village of Taibeh on fire, Israeli settlers are now at the entrance of the Christian city of Bethlehem, throwing stones at cars under the protection of the Israeli army. As Ryan Grimm says, are they really going to let them burn Bethlehem too? Maybe they will. Maybe they will. We've let them do literally anything and everything else, Ryan, so perhaps they will. Bethlehem, one of the holiest cities probably considered in the world, especially by Christians. Is it the birthplace of Jesus? I think it might be the birthplace of Jesus. I mean, this is what we're talking about here. And illegal, ultra-Orthodox Israeli settler, vile sociopaths are going to go in there and potentially torch the place to the ground like they've done with other Christian villages in Lebanon. Now, by the way, I should also point out, and I'm sure you guys saw this story, but the Israeli government had said to the Christians in Lebanon, look, man, we'll largely leave you alone because the U.S. government would prefer it if we leave you alone. However, if we find that you're hiding any Shia Muslims in your attic, then you're the enemy as well. So we now have like quite literal, direct, and frank type scenarios unfolding in Lebanon on a regular basis. That's where we're at right now. And then people say it's anti-Semitic if you compare the Israeli government to the Nazis. I'm sorry, that is the direct, accurate comparison. They can cry about it, they can whine about it, they can bitch, they can moan, but it's the truth. Now we also have Netanyahu who comes out and says the following. The anti-Semitic dictator Erdogan of Turkey, who is committing genocide against the Kurds, please. I love how now Netanyahu goes, I'm against genocide. Oh, now you say, okay. He supports the Hamas terrorist organization, oppresses his own people, and imprisons political rivals, is the last person who can lecture the state of Israel on morality. The state of Israel and the IDF, the most moral army in the world, will continue to take forceful action against Iran and its proxies, which threaten the Middle East and the entire world. He came out and said this because Erdogan compared Netanyahu to Hitler in a speech and said they're expansionist and they're, trying to take over Iran, create a greater Israel. He said all the things. Now, to be fair, yes, Erdogan is an authoritarian leader. There's no doubt about it. And he has done horrible things. There's no doubt about it. But the reason why Netanyahu is firing back and saying this is because Erdogan is on the list. Turkey's on the list. As soon as Netanyahu feels like, oh, we're done with Iran and they're a failed state and they have open slave markets and warlords in the streets, eventually he's going to set his sights on Turkey. And they're going to start fear-mongering about the existential threat of Turkey. And they're also going to want to wage war against Turkey. Because again, this is a rabid, unhinged dog of a nation. We also have this. A British doctor gives witness testimony on how Israeli drones systematically target children. Watch this.
What I think I found particularly disturbing was that a bomb would drop maybe on a crowded, tented area, and then the drones would come down and...
Please take your time. We're incredibly grateful that you're making the time to be here today. And I can only imagine just how it has impacted you and will continue to impact you. And I feel, because you can't unsee what you've seen, but being able to share that with us really helps us hold legislators particularly to account. So we do appreciate the time that you're making for us today. Thank you.
So the drones would come down and pick off civilians, children. And we had description after description. This is not, an occasional thing. This was day after day after day, operating on children who would say, I was lying on the ground after a bomb had dropped, and this quadcopter came down and hovered over me and shot me. And that's clearly a deliberate act, and it was a persistent act, persistent targeting of civilians day after day. We had 1 or 2 mass casualty incidents every day.
That's incredibly heavy stuff. Here, Benjamin Netanyahu says that Israel was forced to bomb Iran in order to prevent a nuclear attack on Israel. One of the most flagrant lies I've ever seen, and I've seen many flagrant lies covering U.S. and Israeli politics. Here we go.
Overnight, Israel carried out a historic first blow to prevent a nuclear attack on Israel. I reiterate my commitment. Iran will not have nuclear weapon. In the same determination, we acted also against Hezbollah. Hezbollah planned to storm into the Galilee and destroy Israeli towns with 150,000 rockets. We also removed that threat and we eliminated Nasrallah. And I want to tell you, our brave fighters are destroying Hezbollah.
Iran doesn't even have a nuclear weapon. And he goes out there and says with a straight face, oh, we had to attack Iran to prevent a nuclear strike on us. I'm sorry, man. This is what happens when there's no accountability, there's no consequences, there's no justice, there's not even an attempt to hold these people accountable. This is what happens. They wind up going out there and they will say the most bizarre, over-the-top, insane, obviously untrue shit because they've got away with everything else to this point. And so they say this, by the way, this won't even make news. This hasn't even made news in a bunch of places, bro. He says this, it's like, yawn. Like, what kind of backwards-ass world are we living in? Where this guy gets a pass for all of his fucking atrocities. A shameless lie. Oh yeah, Iran was about to nuclear strike Israel. Like, what the fuck are you babbling about, son? By the way, who actually has illegal nukes? Israel does. Iran doesn't, Israel does. Oh my word, man. What are we even doing? All right, somehow it gets darker. The Cradle says, Israeli minister calls for kidnapping of Lebanese women and children to break Hezbollah morale. Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who's a literal terrorist, by the way, urged the political security cabinet to abduct and imprison Lebanese women and children as a psychological warfare tactic against Hezbollah, according to a closed-door leak published by Hebrew news outlet Walla. Now, by the way, let me point out, remember, Israel just passed, the Knesset just passed this law, which basically greenlights turning their prison camps into death camps. So it's like mass death for every Palestinian hostage that they take, regardless of what the charge is against them. So oftentimes they take like 12-year-olds who threw rocks and they lock them up, no due process whatsoever. Well, they just decided, how about we kill all of these people? And you had Itamar Ben-Gvir and Smotrich and all these sociopaths were celebrating this law passing. They had a big cake that had like nooses on it and shit. I'm not kidding about any of this. You can go look it up. Don't take my word for it. You go look it up. So now you're telling me, let's mass kidnap Lebanese women and children, okay? Then that's step one. Step two is, you just said, all the hostages get murdered. You turn your prison camps into death camps. So in other words, you want to do a genocide and a Holocaust against all of the women and children of Lebanon. That's what this is. And again, they get mad when you compare them to the Nazis. This is the most overt, blatant, brazen Nazi shit I've ever seen in my life, and it's not even particularly close, okay? What are we doing? What are we doing here? They continue. During a high-level ministerial meeting reviewing expanded military calculations, Ben-Gvir demanded that Tel Aviv abandon conventional strategy and explicitly target the social and familiar core of the Lebanese resistance network. Quote, we must think outside the box regarding Hezbollah, Ben-Gvir asserted to his fellow cabinet members, according to the report. The Israeli minister added that alongside occupying southern territory and intensifying lethal strikes on personnel, Israeli forces should actively round up civilians. Quote, we should arrest their women and children and take them to prison. This is what hurts them the most. Now, let's also remember, there's mass rape that happens in these Israeli prisons. We've literally caught it on camera. And when it was caught on camera, Israeli citizens come out in the streets and start to protest in favor of grape. They've had right to grape protest. That's what this is. Now, let me ask you a question. Why have you not heard about this story virtually anywhere else? Why is this not on CNN? Why is this not on CBS? Oh, that's right. It's controlled by the Ellisons, the Zionist pro-IDF hacks, billionaire hacks, and run by Bari Weiss, the Zionist hack. So you don't hear about this in mainstream media in the U.S. Republican politicians just outright support this. Democratic politicians don't say Dickie McGeezack's against it. And so you get a muzzling of the truth, censoring of the truth to the nature of the Israeli terror rape state, okay? This is what they actually are. This is what they actually look like. And again, ask yourself, why are you not hearing about this anywhere else where this would be, imagine an Iranian official, a top Iranian official said, let's kidnap all the Israeli women and children. And let's lock them up, no due process, put them in prison camps known for grape, and then turn those prison camps into death camps and do a mass extermination campaign. You know, you might want to do it efficiently, like with, say, gas chambers or something like that. Imagine an Iranian official said this about Israeli women and children. You would never hear the fucking end of it, ever, ever. But let's talk about Graham Plattner sexting people instead of the fact that he's against the Israeli terror grape state, okay? All right, here we go. Still not done. CNN, Trump has declared an Iran deal imminent 37 times, yet no agreement has been reached. Oh, my days. Here we go. This is a compilation of Trump, the number of times he said, the war's over, it's basically over. Watch this. Here we go.
So we're winning very decisively. And we've won. Let me tell you, we've won. You know, you never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over. Oh, I think we won. From a military standpoint, they're finished. We've won this. This war has been won. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They're defeated. They can't make a comeback. We are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly. We're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close. We're the winner. We won. Okay. Because we've won. Whether you listen to the fake news or not.
Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I think we're very close to making a deal with Iran. I think we're going to be finished with that very quickly. Iran is a defeated nation. With the Iran conflict. That'll end soon. Well, we're winning Iran. It's a total win for us. We're almost finished. We're there for a few months. And the threat is largely over. Soon it will be over. It's a military conflict. It's a practice. I have to get back to fighting a war in Iran.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And finally, Dropsite says, world seeing highest number of armed conflicts since World War II. There were 65 active conflicts worldwide in 2025, with direct wars between states doubling to 8. The most since records began in 1946, according to Sweden's Uppsala Conflict Data Program, as reported by NPR. Roughly 244,000 people were killed in conflicts in 2025, up from 187,000 the year before, and the highest toll since the 1994 Rwandan genocide. Russia-Ukraine is currently the deadliest war, followed by Sudan and Israel's war on Gaza. Researchers link the surge to a shifting global order, citing growing arguments that the world is witnessing the end of Pax Americana. Donald Trump and MAGA ushered in the end of the U.S. as a global superpower. He's repeatedly shooting this entire country in the nutsack over and over again. And the weakening of America and the downfall of America has led to a massive increase in global conflicts. Also, by the way, need to point out, we've started, at least 8, 10 of these conflicts, maybe more? So, a warmongering psychopath who's basically a mad king, destroying our global standing, leading to instability everywhere. This is a worst-case scenario on steroid and human growth hormone, and everybody is now aware of that.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all. So the other day, we talked about how Fox News came after yours truly. Was it on the 5? I think it was on the 5. And I can't even remember what it was about. That's how much my brain has turned into oatmeal over the years. But I seem to recall they didn't really mention me by name. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was just a little clip of me saying that Republicans are total psychopaths and that 32% of this country is gone mentally. So, you know, I've been out here saying now, for the love of God, say my name, bitches. Say Kyle Kalinske, say Secular Talk, say something. Also, I'm sour over the fact that my boy Hassan made it on the White House leftist lunacy page. You have, I don't know if Jennifer Welch made it actually, although she's usually public enemy number 1 of MAGA. But you also have like Don Lemon made it on there, Rachel Maddow made it on there, even fucking Joe Scarborough, who's a Republican, made it on the leftist lunacy White House page. And I'm looking at it going, what do I have to do? What do I have to say? If you motherfuckers watch this show on a regular basis, you would know I'm the one, man. I'm your enemy. Come to Papa, right? So, but thankfully, Fox News yet again decided knives out for your boy. But gotta say, I just watched it yesterday. It's kind of weak sauce. You're going to see here, it's kind of weak sauce. They're talking about Graham Plattner. They're trying to hypocrisy burn us. Not only are they coming after me, they go after Ro Khanna, but they also go after Crystal. Okay, so shout out to whoever reached out on Kyle and Corin. They super chatted on Kyle and Corin, and they said, hey man, Will Cain came after you on Fox News, but I posted it on the Kyle Klinsky Reddit, so go watch it over there and respond to it. Well, here we go. We're going to do exactly that. Let's listen.
Not enough to be considered believable by the left. You're seeing the response from liberal commentators like Crystal Ball on X.
Still at this late date, they don't understand the difference between a leftist and a liberal. They're so out of touch. They're so not plugged in. They're so mentally in a previous generation that they just, like, they call Crystal a liberal and they call me a liberal. Let's keep going.
The New York Times published uncorroborated accusations against Graham Plattner of unsettling and toxic behavior that came from a heritage staffer who previously worked for a conservative organization that backs Collins. Progressive commentator Kyle.
By the way, what? She's spitting, bro. You can't just read it and leave it as is. Like, everybody's going to go, yeah, that seems about right. Like, what is this? All right, let's keep going.
Klinsky said, the New York Times is basically campaigning for Collins at this point. They're a complete disgrace. Cancel your subscriptions to that rag. And apparently for some...
Bro, they're just running our greatest hits. What is this? You're just helping us out here, okay?
Not all allegations of assault are created equal. Igor Bobich reporting on X that Democrat Senator Sheldon Whitehouse says he's not impressed by the allegations against Graham Plattner in the latest New York Times reports. Seems like a lot of nothing. I mean, the only one who had anything to say that seemed unsettling was a woman who works for right-wing political operations.
That is just objectively a fact. They spoke to like 6 of his ex-girlfriends. 3 of them said he was totally fine, and if anything, they liked him a lot. They still like maintained contact with him. 2 of them said, well, he was definitely a drinker and he womanized, but he never did anything messed up to me. And the only one that had allegations of him being unsettling was literally a Heritage Foundation Project 2025 operative who created a group called Women for Kavanaugh after he was accused of way worse things. So what are we doing here? Again, they think this is a gotcha. This is how you know they're so high on their own supply, is like they just read our very clear W's and act like it's like scandalous and crazy and wrong. Well, I got news for you, man. Even the fucking like 78-year-olds who are in a nursing home watching you are not exactly following your position here. That like, oh, this is crazy and they're insane for saying this stuff.
Back in 2018, White House was impressed enough to believe Justice Kavanaugh's accusers. So too did Congressman Ro Khanna, who says it's Plattner's atonement that matters, not his actions. He says the behavior described in the New York Times story was wrong and toxic, and Graham has acknowledged that and sought redemption. Has he, though? Maybe the congressman can ask him when he stumps with Plattner tonight in Maine. Or maybe he'll change his mind after he remembers his no exceptions, no questions asked stance on assault allegations. This was Khanna in 2018. I believe Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. I believe Deborah Ramirez. I believe Anita Hill. Brett Kavanaugh should not be on the Supreme Court.
They think they have such a W with this. This point rests on the assumption that like all claims are created equal and there's like equal validity in every claim, right? And that's just not true, right? Like I believe Christine Blasey Ford. I don't believe the Heritage Foundation Project 2025 bitch who literally said she wants to campaign for Susan Collins and then accused Graham of unsettling behavior was the worst she could come up with. Okay? It's like, oh yeah? Well, you believe the Democratic women and not this Republican woman? Yes, that's exactly my position. Thank you very much. And I'm also correct, by the way. The Democratic women are telling the truth. The Republican woman is not telling the truth. Sorry. Thanks for playing. Like they act like I'm supposed to run away from that or be ashamed of that or like feel like I'm being a hypocrite or something. And it's like, no, this person is lying. These people are not lying. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Now you could try, bro, but you shouldn't do that or say that. Okay, but I'm right. So like, suck my nuts.
But here's the thing. Democrats know they can't lose Maine. And for whatever reason, so far, they don't think any of this has jeopardized that.
Literally none of this has jeopardized that. If anything, the exact opposite. Now Democratic voters see right-wingers trying to take down one of our outsider candidates as exactly what it is. A political hit job because he's the strongest candidate. You go after the strongest candidates and try to scandalize them and take them out of the running. And then you put the weaker candidate in their place, and then the Republicans have a better chance of winning. Democratic voters are onto the trick. They now know, oh, the reason you're actually going after this guy is because he's standing against the robber barons. He's standing against the Epstein class. He's standing against the military-industrial complex and the MAGA fascists. That's why you're going after him, because he's actually going to deliver change, and you know you can't beat him. This was like a last-ditch effort from the Republican establishment to take down a person who they know they're going to lose to.
What happens if there's even murkier, dirtier evidence still out there?
Yeah, and you guys could just make that shit up too, like you made this shit up too, right? Like, I'm sorry, we're not doing this anymore where the Republicans have a literal cheat code where all they have to do is just lie shamelessly, and then they can, like, ruin somebody's reputation and get them to lose an election. You get the vibe now that main Democratic voters are like, I literally don't care what you have to say because you're a lying scumbag. I don't give a shit. I think you're full of shit. I think Graham's a good guy, and I think he deserves to be in there. It's just not, I'm sorry, it's just not going to work anymore. Your tricks are not going to work anymore. Hey, I'm getting a little more play, bro. I'm getting a little more play. So this is the second time Fox News has hit me in the last month or so. I'm telling you, I want more smoke. I want a segment that's literally only dedicated to me and how unhinged I am and how crazy I am and how wrong I am. And then you will give me content for fucking months, bro. Come at me. I want Sean Hannity. I want Mark Levin. I want Jesse Waters. I want Greg Gutfeld. I want all these fucking losers. Come at me. Because you will not know what hit you. We are a different breed of Democrat. We're a different breed of leftist. You're not used to this. You're used to old school Alan Colmes fucking apologizing for being around you and existing and, you know, being scared of his own shadow. We don't play like that anymore. And so now you get the sense Republicans are actually panicking over the rise of Graham Plattner, because if Plattner-style politics can win in Maine, right, and if it can win in Michigan with Abdul El Sayed, and if it won in New York City with Zoran, where can it not win, right? Like, where will this fail? And the answer is they know it's a threat to take over the whole country. Actual left-wing, anti-oligarchy, anti-war machine, anti-Zionist politics, anti-corruption, anti-billionaire Epstein-class politics. And they know they can't beat it, so they try to do the cheat codes of, oh yeah, well, what about these obviously fake allegations that are right-wing hack made up? They appear to be totally made up right-wing hack allegations, and we don't believe you. Go ahead and cry and whine and bitch and moan about that some more.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So I don't know how many of you guys have been following what's going on with the World Cup. Obviously it's starting tomorrow or the day after. It's starting very soon, okay? And it's a mess. It is so chaotic. They've failed at every level hosting this thing in the United States. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating for the entire country. So here's Ben of Midas Touch laying this out for us. The title is Trump Instantly Ruins World Cup as Teams Arrive. Listen to this. Here we go.
Donald Trump is destroying the FIFA World Cup before it even begins. We're now learning that the Trump regime has banned a Somalian referee, someone who's known as the top referee in Africa, simply because this referee was from Somalia. Donald Trump and his regime continue to treat the teams that are traveling to the United States for the World Cup horribly. The Senegal team that arrived was treated awfully with security, basically giving them cavity searches. The Uzbekistan team was treated horribly. The Trump regime has basically banned major groups of foreign reporters, and when foreign reporters are allowed in, they're given a visa that basically doesn't let them travel to Canada or Mexico and then come back to the United States, and the games are in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. This is turning into a massive disaster, and it's in stark contrast to what we're seeing in Mexico, where they've got mariachi bands that are greeting teams that are arriving in Mexico, and they're getting a hero's welcome in Mexico while the Trump regime is treating them horribly. And now we've also learned that ICE and Border Patrol will be ramping up their efforts and attacks, I should really be calling them, outside of these stadiums for the World Cup, and the Customs and Border Patrol are going to be engaging in even more vile tactics when people are arriving from foreign countries. We're learning about fans who are unable to arrive here to the United States. There are multiple countries where the United States is outright just banning fans from showing up. And then where there are countries that are allowed to have their fans show up, they are being blocked significantly in the visa process. I mean, on average, a 40 to 50% denial rate of visas from a list of countries that have a lot of that have teams playing in this World Cup. Let's just go through the data piece by piece. And I mean, look, you have also New York City Mayor Mamdani and New York Governor Hochul, one of the host sites of the World Cup. You know, they're calling out the Trump regime for engaging in this immigration, migration, harassment right now. It's like the worst fears are coming true, you know, but this is what we predicted. And a lot of people said, not for the World Cup. It would be different. Donald Trump knows the whole world is looking at what's happening here. Maybe he'll realize this is a sporting event and he won't try to destroy it. No, Donald Trump is going to try to destroy it. He is a destroyer. That's what he does. Let's go through the receipts right here. I think DropSite does a good summary. The World Cup is here, but not everyone is welcome. As the FIFA World Cup gets underway on U.S. soil, a pattern of visa denials and border incidents is casting a massive dark shadow on the tournament. For example, the Iraqi team, their striker Ayman Hussein was held for nearly 7 hours at Chicago's O'Hare Airport.
Oh my God, man. They are the absolute worst of this country. That's what this regime is. They are the worst of this country. And by the way, everybody predicted this would happen. When you look at ICE and what they're doing mass kidnappings and abductions and human trafficking, and there's no due process, and over thousands of people are missing, and at least 40 people died in their custody, and they're doing slavery at their detention camps, which are really concentration camps, and you have criminals joining ICE, and they're assaulting grandmas and shooting priests in the face with tear gas and tear gassing babies and running over people with cars. And you look at this, you look at what they're doing, and you go, there's no way that a country that's running this fascist immigration regime is gonna, like, what? Suddenly be like all humanitarian and welcoming when the World Cup happens here and people from around the world want to travel here to watch their teams? Not a chance, bro. Not a chance. And then never mind the fucking prices being sky high. Like, the whole thing is so corrupt. I mean, remember, it was the head of FIFA who gave Trump this made-up FIFA Peace Prize like 7 seconds before he started carpet bombing little girls in Iran. Okay? This whole thing is a joke. This whole thing is a scam. This whole thing is a joke. And now here we are, and I feel so horrible for all these people coming into my country and being treated like absolute shit, being treated like garbage, simply because they're brown, right? That's what it is. That's all it is. They're brown. And by the way, nobody can deny that this is a racist government. The official stated policy of this government is racism. Who was it? Mehdi Hassan said the other day, I forget the exact number, so forgive me on that, but like there's been maybe 3,000 or 6,000 or so refugees who came in this country. Like 99% of them are white South Africans. What does that tell you? When the refugee program goes, no black people, no brown people, only white South Africans with fucking beer bellies. Okay, what does that tell you? It is white nationalism to a T. That's what it is. And that's exactly what this reaction is to the World Cup as well. Let's keep going.
The team's photographer was denied entry outright over what U.S. Customs and Border Protection described as, quote, vetting concerns, with no further details provided. Iraq is making its first World Cup appearance in 40 years, and that's how the U.S. is treating them. Morocco, at least 90 fans from 2 major supporters groups were denied U.S. visas ahead of the tournament, most under a clause citing doubts about their intention to return home, despite documented travel histories to Russia, 2018, Qatar, 2022, and the Paris Olympics. Some have lost tens of thousands of their currency in non-refundable bookings. We're seeing the same with Iraqi fans as well. Lots of Middle East fans are being denied after they've tried to go to this embassy and that embassy. And the issue is you have to buy these tickets, and then it's very possible and increasingly probable your visas will be denied. And if you think, well, let me try to work with Turkey or let me try to work with this embassy, maybe there's a way in. Nope, not with the Trump regime. I mean, look, if a FIFA appointed award-winning referee isn't allowed in simply because he's from Somalia, that shows you the extent to which the Trump regime is interposing their very racist policies and their just despicable way they treat the Somalian community here for a sporting event. I mean, this is unfathomable, but I guess nothing is when it comes to the disgusting Trump regime. So the FIFA-appointed referee Omar Artan was denied entry to the U.S. and immediately sent back upon arriving. I mean, he showed up in Miami. He got here with the help of the local embassies. He went to an embassy in Nairobi, which helped him, then stopped in Turkey, and then came here to Miami. And then he was like, nope, you're going back, sir. You're from Somalia. And here in the United States, Trump don't like Somalians, so you go back. Seriously, that's what went down because the guy's Somalian. Trump kicked him out. Artan is known as like the best referee in all of Africa, a world-class World Cup referee told to leave the country. And just take a look right here. As I noted before, this is how play the B-roll, guys. The Senegalese delegation gets this treatment upon the arrival to the U.S. Full tarmac searches, cavity searches, shoes off, bags inside. They're treated like criminals. The Uzbeki team right here, when they arrive, take a look right here. You have security searching all of their bags. They showed up and they thought, well, how are we? We thought, look, when you show up usually in the host country does things like if you're in Uzbekistan, something culturally celebratory the team is greeted with usually, right? Or if the Senegalese team arrives, something that shows a warm U.S. welcome. And no, instead you get body searches, you get put in isolation and get cross-examined.
You know what the craziest part is? This is a criminal regime, right? Like, Trump, he basically has a crime family at this point. It's nothing but a fucking cartel. It's a criminal syndicate that's running this country. This is a mobocracy. Trump is, and by the way, he's already a convicted felon. We know that. 34-time convicted felon. He was charged with 91 crimes. He's a war criminal. He's a pedophile. He's a rapist. He's a con man. He's a fascist. Every negative thing in the books, right? And it's the criminals who are also protecting the child sex trafficking cabal of billionaire elites. They're treating soccer players like they're the criminals. Not a single Epstein criminal has been arrested, but you're going to treat arriving soccer teams for the World Cup like they're criminals? What this country has become is like just flat out unrecognizable. There's no basic decency or common sense anymore.
Our government looks through your phones and your social media habits. These are World Cup teams and fans that are showing up here. So if you want to see the contrast, though, to what's going on in Mexico, take a look right here. You got South Korean fans enjoying the Mexican culture in Jalisco right there. We could play the B-roll right there. And I'm going to show you this video right here. So I just showed you what was going on in the United States, right? Take a look right here as Mexico is greeting the teams. This is how Mexico greets teams. This is how you should be greeted. This is what's supposed to go down. Here, let's play this clip right here. Here's how the BBC is reporting on all of this as well. A World Cup for them, not us. Fans anger at U.S. travel bans and visa restrictions. They tell the story at the outset of this article of the Iraq football fan Abdullah Adnan, who bought tickets to see his country matches. As noted, it's the first time they've been in the World Cup in like forever. To go to the match, to go to the stadium cheering, to root on our Iraqi national team is the most important thing. It's so incredible. He traveled to neighboring Jordan to try to get a visa. He traveled to Turkey to get the visa. And ultimately, he was told, sorry, you're not going to be able to go to the United States. Then look, then don't host the damn thing. If this is how you're going to treat the people who arrive, don't host the damn thing.
I totally agree. Yeah, if this is how you're going to treat the world, if this is how you're going to throw your middle fingers up to the world, then don't fucking host it. It's literally the World Cup. Like, what do you just want Americans going to the fucking games? And by the way, they probably do. They probably only want fucking Epstein billionaires going to the games too, because when you look at the ticket prices, that's all who could fucking afford it.
Take a look at countries that have a U.S. visa rejection rate of over 40%. Senegal, Ghana, Congo, Iran, Jordan, Cape Verde, Uzbekistan, Algeria, Haiti, Egypt, and Ecuador. And that's in addition, I might add,
what do those countries have in common?
To countries that have outright bans. So if you're from Haiti, Iran, Ivory Coast, Senegal, you're not allowed to even show up. Fully banned right there. Also, as it relates to the Iranian football team, the United States is refusing to allow the Iranian football team to actually stay in the United States. Despite the Iranian football team having 3 games in the United States, they're forced to stay in Mexico. And then they're allowed into the United States just for their game, and they have to immediately leave. A lot of these right-wing neocon groups that are working with Rubio are saying that the Iranian football team, get this, is part of a weapon of mass distraction, nuclear threat against the United States.
I genuinely fear for this team's safety, for the simple reason that I do not put it by Trump to just kidnap them as soon as they come into the country and try to use them as a bargaining chip to open the Strait of Hormuz. I'm not even kidding. Like, I genuinely fear for the safety of this team.
Being sent here as stealth nuclear weapons. That's what Marco Rubio is doing. Oh, by the way, Marco Rubio on Thursday is executing a State Department order with the UFC, with Dana White, declaring UFC a major tool of U.S. diplomacy. That's what they're doing. The grift could not be griftier. And this right as the UFC has to show up for a major court hearing on Thursday where DC groups want this White House UFC fight canceled for all of the likely ethical and legal violations, as well as is being argued by the plaintiffs in that case. So in addition to Iran not being able to stay overnight in the United States, Iranian managers and staff are not allowed to show up in the United States, and they are just being treated absolutely horribly. They're going to be staying in Tijuana. They're going to be staying in Mexico. We've heard from the Iranian embassy in Turkey says, look, you can't whitewash squash the conduct that violates FIFA regulations and breaches the United States host obligations, why aren't you admitting that visas were denied to a large portion of the managerial and executive staff, the technical advisors, and others who are an integral part of the national team?
Of course, a country that doesn't even give a shit about international law and the ICJ and the ICC, they're not going to care about FIFA rules and regulations, and now that's being proven. Now that's being proven right in front of our eyes. They're getting away with whatever the fuck they want to get away with.
You know, because the U.S. Embassy in Turkey was like, look, we got the Iranian team visas. You see, look what we're doing to help sports. Like, look what we're doing. It's like, nah, that's not what you're doing. Anyway. This is what Mayor Mamdani posted. You don't need to drop thousands of dollars to watch the World Cup final, and you don't need to be a professional to play in the World Cup. You just need to head to Central Park. We're hosting a free World Cup final watch party on July 19th for 50,000 New Yorkers on the Great Lawn, and we're opening a mini FIFA arena next to the Tavern on the Green, complete with free clinics, tournaments, and open play. Wow. And then Mayor Mamdani said the following about the news, that the Trump regime has drawn up a plan to surge ICE into New York City during the World Cup.
Oh, no. By the way, somebody said on Twitter, I think this is because Trump got mass booed at Madison Square Garden that they decided, like, fuck it, let's send ICE into New York City. I'm not kidding. Somebody said that. I read that, and I was like, that kind of adds up. That's like some shit he would do. Second he gets out of there, call Tom Homan. It's Tom. Go ahead, I'm greenlighting a surge of ICE into New York City, because he got booed and the whole world saw it and he was humiliated.
Soccer would not exist without immigrants, Mayor Mamdani said. Immigrants play and coach the game, work in the stadiums, fill the stands, and make celebrations like the World Cup possible. 6 of the players on the U.S. men's national team are immigrants. We will not allow ICE or anyone else to sow fear in our communities, especially at this moment. As the world comes to our city, we will stand proudly with our immigrant neighbors and reject these attacks for what they are, an attempt to divide us.
So look at the difference here. When Zoran shows up to a Knicks playoff game, they win. Right? That's what happened. When the first game he went to, they won. He was also sitting in the nosebleeds and respecting the fact that like sitting with real people, right? Trump gets the private box, shows up, immediately destroys the energy, Knicks lose. The guy is just a curse. He's an absolute curse. He fucked up the vibe. He fucked up the frequency and the wavelength that the Knicks were playing on. He destroyed the experience for all the fans who had to show up 2 hours early and they struggled to get into the fucking building and had all these restrictions. And allegedly, he may have even gone into the locker room, which if he did, that absolutely would fuck up the flow of the Knicks. And you have Zoran. What did he do? He set up some sort of program to get the only cheap tickets to go to the Knicks games. Right? Like, the Knicks tickets right now are fucking preposterously expensive. But the New York City government got involved because of Zoran and got some tickets, I don't know the exact number, at a reasonable price. And he's doing the same thing for the World Cup. In other words, he is the polar opposite. He is the anti-Trump in every imaginable way. And that's why Zoran is beloved and Trump is despised.
And then for no reason at all, I'm just going to show you Donald Trump getting booed at Madison Square Garden last night. Let's play.
Look at the face. He knows. Him and his granddaughter know. And by the way, this one was muted. This one, they lowered the volume on it. When you look at the videos on social media from inside MSG, it was way louder. Holy shit, man. Holy shit. So, I said it. So many people said it. We never in a million years under this Trump regime should have had the World Cup here. And now you know exactly why that is. And my guess is we haven't even hit rock bottom yet. There's going to be so many more fuck-ups and so many more maddening things before this thing is over. And it's a real shame because something like the World Cup is special. And it's sort of being disrespected. And all these people who love it and want to participate in it are being disrespected, all because we have a fascist regime in this country.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So we've talked quite a bit on this channel about Trump's physical and mental decline. It's very clear that he's not in good health. First of all, he's got these swollen ankles, and they say that's from chronic venous insufficiency. But as doctors point out, he would have had it for a really long time if that's the case. And the swollen ankles are new, which seem to indicate it's acute. And if you have acute swelling in your limbs like that, that would normally stem from congestive heart failure. Okay, and that would make more sense because he's 80 years old and he's obese. So he looks like absolute shit. He's clearly got circulatory problems. He's been missing every now and then. He goes missing for like 4 or 5 days, 6 days. People speculated he's dealing with mini strokes. There's that moment where he got tired in public. Soon thereafter, one of his disappearances and one of the sides of his mouth is just drooping way down. Again, that would be evidence of mini strokes. So heart issues, circulation issues, potential stroke issues. I haven't even talked about the rash on his neck, which makes it look like he's rotting away, the fucking bruise on his hand, which makes it look like he's rotting away. He disappears at the beginning of every month for some sort of procedure that they don't tell us about and that they're hiding. And the bruising in the hand is probably from some sort of injection he gets at the beginning of every month. My guess is it's Leqembi. Leqembi is a drug for early Alzheimer's, and it's supposed to slow the worsening of Alzheimer's. And it would kind of fit, right? Because he's out there bragging about, I did great on this cognitive test. It's not a cognitive test. It's a fucking dementia test. And you've taken it 4 times in a year, which indicates there's something clearly wrong and they know it, right? Also, when he got the MRI, remember he got an MRI? They're like, oh, what did they MRI? He goes, it was a routine MRI. That's not a thing, by the way. And then he goes, I don't know what they did the MRI on, but it definitely wasn't the brain. Well, that means it's almost certainly the brain, right? And that's what would happen if you're taking Leqembi, the drug Leqembi, is they would check your brain to make sure there's no bleeds there because that's a side effect of the drug Leqembi. Okay, so physically deteriorating, mentally deteriorating, everybody sees it, but every day you get more and more little pieces of the puzzle that come out that get worse and worse, and they paint a more and more dire picture. So now let's take a look at this. Here's Trump walking over to reporters, and see what you notice about this walk. Okay, here we go. Speed it up a little bit here. What do you notice? What are you noticing? Look. You see this? What this is showing here is that he is functionally incapable of walking in a straight line anymore. Now, this is not the only time this has happened. This also happened when he was meeting with Putin in Alaska. That was months ago. It happened then. It also happened. There was a video of him walking. See, look at this. Can't walk in a straight line. There's a video of him walking with a little kid in the White House, showing him all the pictures of the presidents the thing where they put Biden with the auto pen, right? He's walking, and he's also incapable there of walking in a straight line. Here, I'm going to play it for you one more time. Take note. I sped this up a little bit here, but you can see off to the right, back to the left, incapable of walking in a straight line. So this is now the 3rd or 4th time we've very clearly seen this symptom. Well, guess what? When you look it up, people living with dementia often cannot walk in a straight line. As the brain changes, it loses the ability to properly send messages to the muscles. This makes it hard to keep balance, judge distances, and coordinate steps. Changes in how a person walks are known as a gait disorder. Common reasons dementia patients veer off course include poor balance, the brain struggles to keep the body upright, shuffling steps, feet barely leave the ground, causing tripping and swaying, uneven step length, one step is long and the next one is short, leading to an irregular path, and leaning, the body may tilt to one side while walking. Now, you want to talk about leaning? That's the other thing. He's always been a leaner, right? Certainly in his older years, he's always been leaning awkwardly. You've all seen him standing where it looks like, how is gravity even holding this fucking guy up? Here's another one. What happened the other day at the Knicks game? Fell asleep during the Knicks game. The NBA Finals, okay? In a close game, mind you. So what about falling asleep? Yes, dementia frequently causes increased sleepiness and disrupted sleep. This happens because the disease damages the parts of the brain that regulate your body's internal clock and sleep-wake cycles. Excessive daytime sleepiness, many with dementia experience severe drowsiness during the day. This is particularly common in Lewy body dementia. Disrupted nights, because the brain struggles to tell the difference between day and night. Individuals often experience fragmented sleep, insomnia, or nighttime wandering. Increased total sleep in the middle to late stages of dementia. Individuals may sleep significantly more throughout a 24-hour period. So understand something. His days start later and they end earlier. That's a fact when you compare it to his first term. He's up all hours of the night. Posting shit on live social until like 4 o'clock in the morning, just unhinged QAnon type shit, AI slop nonsense. But then during the day when he has meetings with his cabinet, he's fucking falling asleep in them bitches like nobody's business. So it is not looking good, bro. Let's remember, his dad died with Alzheimer's, okay? Which means it runs in his family. He's 3 to 15 times more likely to get it because his dad had it, okay? We also know impulse control is the very first thing to go when you talk about this disease. And if there's anything Trump shows, it's impulse control problems. He has behavioral disinhibition, and all the evidence in the world is out there of that, like screaming "quiet piggy" at a female journalist and saying you're a stupid person to a journalist. And The examples recently are like when he told the reporter, I don't think about Americans' financial situation at all. Now, on the one hand, that's just like a crazy thing to say. But on the other hand, he would have known in the first term not to say that, to spin it, to be artful, to be a politician. Now he's just like, I don't care about Americans' financial situation, right? Or when he gave a speech to a bunch of Republicans and he said, we can't do daycare, we can't do healthcare, we can't afford that stuff because we got a war going on. So he's gone. His mental capacity is gone. As I always tell you, he went from a low filter guy to a no filter guy. He's commonly dealing with phonemic paraphasia, right? The classic example of that, it's like messing up words. So instead of saying telephone, it's like saying Teflon, right? And this happens more and more and more. Or like your brain short-circuiting while you're talking and being unable to finish the sentence. And it's been getting worse and worse over time. There's been evidence for a while, but it's worse and worse over time. He's had a decline in verbal complexity. He was only talking at a 6th grade level. Now he probably talks at a 4th grade level. Repetition and fixation is another sign of this. He does that all the time. Sundowning, that happens obviously. So let's remember, guys, as many people have pointed out, the reason why this isn't as big a story as it is under Biden is because Trump has the kind of dementia that just makes you angry, right? You sound angry. But the fact that he still sounds like passionate makes people sort of overlook how his brain's not working anymore. And Biden had the kind that he came across as like confused all the time. But look at this. Let's play. Here's a compilation of moments which are clear evidence of severe cognitive abilities. Watch this. Here we go.
Colleges and universities will purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. 3 years later, how about that? The Arabia and Russia will repeat your... Oh.
What? Nah, son. What on earth? Oh, my days. That is like his brain took a massive diarrhea shit right there. Oh, my word.
How about that? The Arabia and Russia will repeat your... Oh.
You tell me that brain is functioning normally? Is that what you're telling me?
Venezuela. Did you just see Maduro? Venezuela. It's unbelievable. Best trade deal ever made. They all say a giant win for farmers and manufacturers. Mexico and Canada. I use master lock all the time. When I was a little child, I'd take master lock. I'd go lots of nice little puzzles you put them.
All right, keep it an eye.
This is the worst border in the history of the world. There's never been, no third world country has a border like that. And no third, I'll tell you what, and I hope the military revolts at the voting booth to give the American people their voice back by building something called Truth Essential. This is the very definition of totalitarianism. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation, the beginnings of that investigation. The biggest lie ever foisted upon the American people. He was awarded the Bronze Star and the Combat Infantryman Badge for his service. Normal times, roughly 40% of fresh vegetables and about 40% in the failing New York Times by an anonymous,
This is literally all phonemic paraphasia, which is evidence of Alzheimer's.
Gutless coward. Your campaign of terror, murder, mayhem will not be tolerated any longer. It will not be allowed to go forward. God bless the United States.
That one, I think his dentures came loose here or something.
Thank you very much. Going any further, I want to say God bless the people of Israel. They're under attack right now. That's because we show great weakness. To teach transgender to our children without parental consent. No, nobody has to have parental consent, and we will totally oppose the Biden administration at this. I will also order our government to deny entry to all communists and Marxists. Look, we have Marxists, fascists, communists. They're pouring into our country. We are going to deny them access to our country. Now, the one problem, Joe Biden's granting mass thing, decided to shield and shelter criminal. Look, wait.
Oh, my word, man. Yeah, it's happening, bro. It's happening. And as I keep telling you guys, there's going to come a day where all the tell-alls come out, and we are going to get some juicy, spicy insider information where everybody in the Trump regime is going to go, oh, I was against this all along. Oh, I always thought this was crazy. Oh, I always was behind the scenes saying, sir, don't do that, don't do this. Because they all know a man who is sundowning, a man who has Alzheimer's, a man who is quite literally morphing into the Mad King, is starting multiple new wars, crashing the global economy, shoving people in concentration camps, self-dealing, looting the treasury with the Epstein class. And everybody knows as all this is going on, his health is failing. He's physically and mentally rotting away in front of us. He looks like he has about 17 seconds left to live. And they're letting this frail, dying, obese, pedophile, war criminal man fucking loot this country and strip it down to the studs. Okay? That's where we're at now. And it is absolutely devastating to watch in real time. And like I said, there will come a day where all the criminals who allowed all this to happen and took part in it are going to go, oh no, I was always against this. And I'll tell you all the details about just how out of his mind he was and how he had so much dementia that he wasn't fit to fucking manage an Arby's, never mind run the most powerful country in the world.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So I'm not quite sure if people truly understand the big picture when it comes to U.S. media and what's currently happening. There's a consolidation of U.S. media under the umbrella of pro-MAGA, pro-billionaire, pro-Zionist entities. And what you're going to get as a result of that is quite simply a destruction of our information environment. There's really no other way to describe it. And so Bari Weiss was chosen to run CBS. She's already run it into the ground. You have Scott Pelley sounding the alarm and telling everybody she's literally ordering us to lie. So now he's out at 60 Minutes, and the people who remain are going to be under the microscope of professional liars. And so she's already destroyed CBS, and now she's about to also destroy CNN. Look at this. CBS News boss Bari Weiss poised to oversee CNN editorial operations, according to a report. So this is a woman who failed up her entire life. Let's be clear about that. Before she got the job running CBS, what did she do? She ran her little The Free Press company, which is a YouTube channel. They have a YouTube channel and they get like roughly 5,000 views per video. I could record a video of me sharding and it would get more than 5,000 views. Do you understand that? Like I posted a video in my bed yesterday morning responding to the Knicks game, literally just woke up, can barely talk. And that one video got more views than like 90% of the videos posted on the fucking Free Press. But she got paid hundreds of millions of dollars for the Free Press and got brought in to basically turn CBS into a propaganda outlet that only does pro-Zionist, pro-MAGA, pro-billionaire propaganda. So she already destroyed CBS. Now her sights are set on CNN. They're going to take it over. The reason why Trump is greenlighting this is because the Ellisons have basically formed a pact with him where they say, yeah, we'll make it more like you want it, right? CNN is already failing in the sense that they're a both sides factory. You give equal time to, the fucking closet case psychopath Scott Jennings and Adam Mockler when Adam Mockler is just correct about shit and Scott Jennings is a lying scumbag. That's already a problem. Because who wants to see the both sides shit? I want to see people just tell the truth. It's supposed to be news. Tell me the truth, right? So it's already not doing great. Well, now it's just going to be, everything's going to be Fox News. Okay, everything's turning into Fox News. So as Micah Irfan says, CNN owned by a right-wing billionaire, CBS owned by a right-wing billionaire, Fox owned by a right-wing billionaire, Washington Post owned by a right-wing billionaire, Wall Street Journal owned by a right-wing billionaire. Yes, tell me more about how the mainstream media is far left. It is not remotely far left. He's 100% right. And now we're looking at a situation where it is genuinely hard to get good information. And you have people coming to new media outlets like this, independent media outlets like this, and great, like I love that. So if anything, these people are helping me out. However, I rely on other people doing original reporting, doing actual like fact finding. I'm just a guy who runs my mouth on YouTube and talks about what I find interesting. It's a real shame if the situation has gotten so bad that people have to turn to assholes like me to try to tell them some semblance of the truth. Frankly, that is kind of unacceptable. So what kind of stuff has CBS been doing? Well, as you know, they tried to censor the report on CCOT. You remember that? When Trump was grabbing immigrants and sending them to El Salvador to get tortured and raped in prison, and they were so desperate, people were being forced to suck dick. They were so desperate they would cut their hands and write messages saying, help me, in their blood, in their own sheets. That's how bad it was. Bari wanted to censor that. And she wanted, oh no, we need to paint a more nuanced picture. So, talk more about how ICE is actually great and Trump is actually wonderful. Scott Pelley said this is exactly what happened with the murder of Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy. That she goes, oh, can you make the protesters look more violent, please? Yeah, do that. To make the protesters look more violent. So quite literally ordering 60 Minutes to lie. Well, here's another example of what has happened at CBS since this pro-Zionist, pro-billionaire, pro-MAGA takeover. Look at this.
U.S. Central Command says it began launching self-defense strikes this evening in response to Iran's shoot-down of a U.S. military helicopter patrolling the Strait of Hormuz.
Note the framing. CBS News under-editor-in-chief Bari Weiss is using the ridiculous self-defense strike phraseology put out by CENTCOM. So let's understand what actually happened here. You have Israel is continuously bombing Lebanon and stealing more and more territory in Lebanon and bombing Beirut and going after civilians, and they're not stopping. So Iran goes, okay, we're going to retaliate because you're violating what's supposed to be a ceasefire, even though it's a fake ceasefire. So we're going to attack you back because you're attacking Lebanon. And then the U.S. attacks Iran. They claim Iran took down an Apache helicopter. They didn't. And the U.S. decided we're going to attack Iran. And Trump went after their water, which is a war crime, by the way. By no stretch of the imagination is that defensive. But what does Bari Weiss do? Bias it in favor of MAGA. So as I told you, pro-MAGA, pro-billionaire, pro-Israel, slopaganda 24/7 is now what we're going to get. So understand what we're witnessing here. We're witnessing the systematic destruction of the media in this country. That's what it is. It wasn't great to begin with. It had massive problems to begin with. But now, with the fascist consolidation of power in the executive branch, you're also seeing the fascist consolidation of power when it comes to the media. And they're moving really quickly so as to make it virtually impossible to try to undo the damage. So when you're sitting here and watching Graham Plattner versus Susan Collins, understand where the next 78 smear stories come from. It comes from this media, which is pro-billionaire, pro-MAGA, pro-Zionist, and its whole existence is to try to play for a team, that team being the evil one, over and over and over. So Bari Weiss failed up her entire life, and this just goes to show you, this story alone busts up the myth of meritocracy. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this story alone shows it's not about that. It's about power. It's about control. It's about dominance. It's about wealth. It's about resources. It's about narrative shaping. There's a war for your attention and there's a war for your perspective. And they will stop at nothing to try to mold you into an obedient little worker who is pro-billionaire, pro-MAGA, and pro-Zionist as Israel commits a genocide right in front of our eyes and as Trump frog marches people into the fucking concentration camps. So wake up and realize what's going on here, and rest in peace to CNN. Now, by the way, what happens next? MS Now is the last one standing, and they're on their own. They used to be part of NBC under the MSNBC umbrella. Now they're MS Now. They're probably already struggling for money and resources because no company wants to open up their wallet to like a nominally liberal network in this moment where fascism's taken over the country. So they're the only one left, and they're also sort of milquetoast if we're being honest, right? And then what happens now? Does MS Now go down? Do they crack down on YouTube, and do they censor voices like mine? This is a very, very dangerous moment that we're in. I mean, it's somewhat comparable to when all the anti-Iraq war voices got fired during Bush's term, but I actually think this situation is worse because this isn't just firing individual anti-war voices. This is literally about consolidating the entire media under the branch of a fascist project. That's what we're witnessing.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So Graham Plattner's doubters just took another big, fat, juicy L for everybody to see. So we had the primary last night. He wound up getting over 70% of the vote, even though Janet Mills had come out and said, hey, look, I'm still on the ballot. I stopped campaigning, but y'all can still vote for me. If I become the nominee, I'm the nominee, right? So the polls before the scandals had him just over 70% at about like 74, 75%. And the final amount that he's going to end with is about 74, 75%. So the scandals in no way, shape, or form affected him negatively in the Democratic primary. And I think the Republicans are scared that's also going to be the case in the general. And so they're panicking, they're freaking out, and they're throwing everything they got to try to take this guy down. Okay, so let me show you this. This guy, Steve Robinson, award-winning investigative reporter and filmmaker from The Main Wire, he came out and he said, "Blast from the past. The Main Wire reported in October that Graham Plattner used a fake name and a burner Facebook account after the revelation that he was on Kik sexting half a dozen girls of unverifiable ages. The imposter identity on Facebook hits a little different. Can you explain this, Graham for Maine?" And they show this picture, okay? Ready for this? Shout out to Wide of the Post. "This has got to be the most deranged lie of all. You took a picture from his normal Facebook, which was under Grant Thompson 7106, lied that it's actually a secret side account, and blurred out what I'm 95% sure is his wife's face to suggest he has some secret girlfriend. They're so desperate, they're flailing and they're flat out making shit up." Here's another example of flailing. The RNC research account post this clip of Graham Plattner as if this makes him look bad. Listen to this.
"If I had my way, elections would last 2 months. They would be publicly funded. And if a billionaire looked at a TV ad the wrong way, we'd put him in jail."
They really thought they got him. They literally quoted it. "If I had my way, elections would last 2 months. They would be publicly funded. And if a billionaire looked at a TV ad the wrong way, we'd put him in jail." All the replies. "I'm advising you to please run this as an ad on every station in Maine for 6 months. We already liked him, but thanks." And then you have somebody quoting this totally out of context. Graham Plattner said to his girlfriend that if there was a male intruder breaking into the house, he joked that, "Oh, I would rape them to show them that I'm dominant." And they're putting it like as if he was saying he would rape women. Here we have, "Are you trying to help him? This makes him look good. This went so hard I almost liked a hate tweet. Please don't put this in an ad. I'm a woke lib soy boy, and I'd be so owned if you ran this as an ad." So everything they're throwing at him is backfiring colossally. Here's another one. The same guy who did the fake news about the Kik account. "Here are the receipts on Graham Fermain's fake oyster business. Senate website created in 2023. Fake oyster front website created in 2024. That oyster site should be filed on his FEC reports because it's just a part of the working class costume he's wearing to trick Mainers." Ready for this? Yet again, shout out to Wide of the Post. "Here's Graham's fake oyster farm that he only created in 2024 as a campaign prop on the FDA registry for certified interstate shellfish shippers in 2019. Here it is." So again, they're miserable. They're desperate. Now, here's one that's incredible, right? So one polling outlet asked Maine voters, okay, Susan Collins versus Graham Plattner, who do you support? In this particular poll, undecided was 13%. Graham Plattner was at 43.1. Susan Collins was at 43.7. Okay. Now, by the way, let me point out, this is an outlier. Most polls have Graham up and up a decent amount. Okay. Then the same polling outlet asked people, informed people of Plattner's scandals. More on that in a second. And then they asked, who do you support? After being informed of his scandals, Maine voters said, Graham Plattner 48.2%, Susan Collins 40.1%, undecided 11%. So in other words, he had a massive surge of 8 points after people were told, oh, he's got a bunch of scandals. They go, oh, then I definitely want that guy. Maine voters are not fucking around, bro. I saw somebody post the other day on a Maine voter's lawn. It said, I stand with Iran. These people are out for blood, dog. They're done. They're fed up. They're not taking any more shit. And it seems like the more people go after Graham, the more they dig their heels in and say, y'all are a bunch of fucking liars. You're only going after him because he's anti-Israel and anti-war and anti-billionaire. And you know what? I think they're probably right. Okay, but it gets worse. So this same poll that we're talking about here, the way they even phrased the question about his scandals was literally just a complete and utter lie. Ready? This is how the question was worded when voters were informed of Plattner's controversies. Quote, rumors allege Graham Plattner sexually assaulted multiple women and texted, I would rape them to show them I'm dominant. His wife is defending him. Knowing this, who would you vote for in the 2026 Maine Senate race? So they flat out lie and make the scandal way worse than it actually is, and you still had an 8-point bump with Maine voters in favor of Graham Plattner. Damn, son, that's wild. That's wild. Okay, now, by the way, just to point out real quick, literally nobody accused Graham of SA. Nobody accused him of that. That's a total lie. The worst they could muster up was unsettling behavior and being a toxic boyfriend. And that specific claim came from a Heritage Foundation Project 2025 right-wing hack who's lying because she openly said, I want to campaign for Collins. And she created a group, Women for Kavanaugh, after Kavanaugh was accused of way worse. Okay? So this is a paid lying political hack is point number one. Point number two, the I would rape them to show them I'm dominant, is Graham Plattner talking about any male burglar, break-in intruder, and he said it as like a joke to the woman he was with. Oh yeah, I would rape them to show them that I'm dominant. And by the way, Marines respond to this and they were like, oh, I know, he's definitely a Marine. That's some shit we would say. Some like twisted ass humor type shit, right? But they make it seem like he's talking about raping women, and they make it seem like he was accused of SA. None of that is true. But even making the scandal 1,000 times worse than it actually is, Maine voters said, oh, I'm definitely going to vote for Graham. Like, that makes me want to vote for him more. Ready? So then after Graham wins, we'll get to some of his victory speech in a little bit. He goes on Morning Joe, and Mika Brzezinski says to him, I'm not kidding, this is insane. Given your sexting, can you call for the release of the Epstein files and not be conflicted in any way? Is it possible to get one-shotted by stupidity? Because I think I was just one-shotted by stupidity. That might be the dumbest thing I've ever read in my life. Plattner responded, yes, of course, I engaged in consensual romantic activities with adults at an earlier part of my life. That seems like a fairly normal thing most people do. Going to an island with billionaires to possibly assault children is a vastly, vastly different thing. Mika Brzezinski should be ashamed of herself. Frankly, she should fucking resign. She should be off the network for saying something so fucking stupid. And what she's trying to do there is create a false equivalence between Graham having consensual sexting relationships with fucking war criminal pedophile rapists, a cabal of elite pedophile sex traffickers. Like, are you kidding me? Oh my goodness, man. What are we even doing here? Okay, so Graham came out and stunted on them hoes. He gives a speech here, a victory speech, and he does not hold back. Let's listen to some of it.
Maine, I love you. I love this state. Now, the national pundits, the political establishment, they keep looking for that one story, that one headline, that one moment in my life that they can define the campaign by. But in trying so hard to understand me, they failed to understand that this is not about me at all. This is a movement about us. About the far too many working far too hard and struggling far too much at the hands of the ruling class. It is not a story of my hardship, it's of our hardship. A story of the hardship of every working Mainer. People that used to be able to stern in the summertime, plow in the winter, dig clams, and be able to send your kid off to college, but you can't anymore. Because that hard work, it isn't enough now. This story, the story of this campaign, is not about how the political establishment counted me out. It's about for how far too long the political establishment has counted out the voices of every single person without the money to buy influence. But they don't know Maine.
Absolutely cooked. Absolutely cooked. Still not done, though. He says this.
I am a son of rural Maine. I was a kid who picked blueberries under the July sun, and then one day, I was a kid who signed up and left to fight for his country. And when I returned, I carried with me the weight of forever wars and the struggle and the alienation that came with it. But I'm also a lucky one who found his way back, who found a living on the sea, in a home, in a community that offered love and redemption. Redemption is not just some simple or easy destination. It's a journey. I've made mistakes in my life, mistakes that I regret, that I live with, and that I continue to learn from. And I'm still far from perfect. But every day, I wake up and I try to be a little bit better and a little bit kinder than I was the day before. And if you give me the chance, I will be a senator for the people who cannot afford to buy a senator.
Bars. Bars. God damn. Write that one down, son.
I will stand up for you and against billionaires and greedy corporations. I will serve you, the people of Maine, not some lobbyist or party boss. I will be the the champion for your dreams as if it were my own, no matter the challenge or the expense. I will fight for you. I have been willing to die for my country. There is nothing that I will not do for the state of Maine.
Good luck, Susan. Good luck, Susan. All right, still not done, though. He pops off some more here.
There's an old saying, as Maine goes, so goes the nation. If you want to stop war with Iran and end the forever wars, if you want to give workers the raise they deserve, seniors the security they worked for, you want to bring back Roe v. Wade, as Maine goes, so goes the nation. If you want to stop a Trump family slush fund, their ballroom, their deals with Saudi princes and tech oligarchs, if you want to stop the corruption, as Maine goes, so goes the nation. If we want to dismantle ICE, win back the Senate, check Donald Trump's power, and take back ours, as Maine goes, so goes the nation. Together, we will defeat Susan Collins. Together, we will win back this Senate seat.
God damn, y'all. God damn. But now Susan, he's got a little something to say about Susan specifically. Here we go.
Should be unafraid of upsetting the wannabe king to whom Susan Collins bows. Susan Collins said she would only serve 2 terms. She's now running for her 6th. She has worked in politics longer than Joe Biden. She hasn't held a town hall since I was in 8th grade. I've held 83 town halls in the past 8 months. What are you trying to hide, Senator Collins? Now, the truth is, Susan Collins doesn't serve us. She serves Donald Trump. She serves the Epstein class. She serves her corporate donors and the corrupt political system that has rigged the economy against us. She does not serve us, and so we will defeat Susan Collins.
Still not done. Still not done. One more devastating line of attack here. Here we go.
If you reflect Maine's values, why are you funding masked agents who are ripping our neighbors off the streets, driving them off in unmarked vans? That is not the freedom that I serve 4 corps defending. If you are an independent voice, why do you vote with Donald Trump 95% of the time? If you're so bipartisan, why were you the deciding vote to put Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court?
But have you considered that in 2005, Graham jacked off in a porta potty? Does that change your mind, dear Maine voter?
Deciding vote to defund our health care and our hospitals. Why did you rubber stamp the greatest redistribution of wealth from the working class to the ruling class in the history of our nation? Susan Collins is only bipartisan when it doesn't matter. Susan Collins calls herself the gold standard of common sense. Common sense would be Mainers not having to choose between seeing a doctor or paying your mortgage. Common sense would be banning billionaires from buying elections. And it would also be giving workers the same seat at the table as CEOs. Common sense would be a minimum wage that's a living wage. It would be keeping our hospitals open and our schools funded and our kids from having to fight in another generation of forever wars.
He's spitting. He's spitting. You can see why this guy won. And finally, I'll just point out here that he took some time in his speech to thank Janet Mills and give her credit for her service and welcome any Mills supporters who feel disillusioned into his tent, saying that he has to earn their support, that he's not just entitled to their support. And at the same time that happened, we also have this. Janet Mills' statement makes no mention of PLATNER. Quote, I am grateful to Maine people and incredibly proud of what we have accomplished together. I will continue to fight with everything I have to improve the lives and livelihoods of Maine people. Mind you, PLATNER actually gave Mills a shout out and thanked her for her work as governor in his acceptance speech. There's a certain group of Democrats that refuse to come together for the good of the country, and it's not the left. It's pathetic, really. So yeah, Graham being gracious and Mills not mentioning PLATNER. feels all too familiar, right? Feels a lot like the Zoran thing, where after Zoran wins, you have Democratic leaders like not mentioning him, not endorsing him, not supporting him. Turns out the vote blue no matter who thing was just a ruse to try to get leftists to fall in line to support centrists. But when more left-wing people win the primaries, the centrists all of a sudden are not feeling so vote blue no matter who. So that's a real shame. But nonetheless, we proceed. And I wouldn't want to be Susan Collins right now because this man knows what he's doing, and that's clear.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So seemingly everybody is now in the middle of writing Dave Rubin's political obituary. Truth is, he's been washed for quite a while, but now he's like extra washed. Apparently, the numbers over there weren't looking too good anymore, so he's getting a little bit desperate. So he agreed to go on Jubilee to do the 20v1 debate. But the problem for him is that he's completely and utterly incapable of doing such a debate. He just doesn't have the policy chops. He's not quick enough. He just is completely and totally unfit for that. So, like I said, he's been struggling. I mean, his channel is one of those channels where it's like videos will get like 28,000 views, 34,000 views, but then you'll have one that gets like 500,000. Well, come to find out, I think he's doing what the Daily Wire does and what Ben Shapiro does, which is like, every now and then they pick a video to like run as an ad before other more popular videos, and so that's why you get the videos that pop off. But it's basically like a trick, right? They were also botting views, the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro were a while ago. So like Daily Wire has fallen off. Dave Rubin has really fallen off. There's just no energy among that contingent of right-wingers anymore. The people who are still pro-Donald Trump and they're massively pro-Israel, pro-Iran war. It's just not going to work. It just doesn't fucking work anymore. It just doesn't work. Nobody wants to fucking hear it anymore, okay? People are more with, Candace, who's crazy, but at least she's entertaining. Tucker, who's crazy, but he's also at least entertaining. Fuentes and Asmongold have vacuumed up a bunch of the right-wing viewer market, and now just Rubin's left out to dry along with Ben Shapiro. Here we have video from Too Lazy to Try. Shout out to Too Lazy to Try. Dave Rubin's career implodes after disastrous debate. Let's watch. Here we go.
So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that he made better off? GDP, unemployment, inflation? Do you have any idea?
Listen.
Or reviews of the episode.
Oh, that's so brutal. Every time I see it, it's so brutal. He can't give a straight answer. He knows he's got nothing.
Sort of not being kind, Conservative pundit Dave Rubin, branded a complete imbecile, reported the UK's independent newspaper. MAGA host mocked after failing to name any of Trump's achievements, said the Daily Beast. Commentator Mehdi Hassan declared it's official. Dave Rubin is the dumbest man in right-wing media. Glenn Greenwald, meanwhile, said it's not news that Dave Rubin is one of the dumbest people in media, a theme developing there.
All right, so Dave Rubin has been completely humiliating himself basically his whole career, but especially recently. For some reason, he decided to do this 1 versus 20 Jubilee debate. I don't know how he thought this was a good idea. The people there debating him probably couldn't believe he agreed to do this. Even Tim Pool, who knows Dave and I would imagine is kind of friendly with him, was acting like this is low-hanging fruit, and Jubilee brought on Dave because they know he's an idiot and would make a fool out of himself while trying to defend Trump. Like, Dave's so bad at this, Tim thought it was unfair for them to even do this debate. I mean, he almost acts like it was a setup, but Dave chose to do this. He thought this was going to go well for him. So he's either completely delusional or he's just desperate.
To celebrate Pride, Jubilee runs a train on Dave Rubin. Oh, no. Oh, it's so over, Dave. It is so over.
But it's getting sad at this point. Not even Dave's friends in politics can defend this. The best they can do is just be like, guys, come on. We all know Dave is bad at this. Of course, he's going to embarrass himself.
See, this is...
Now, by the way, let me also point out, though, it's kind of funny that Tim Pool decided to talk about this, because when I first talked about this, the point I made is Dave is one of the dumbest, if not the dumbest, right-wing pundits. He's right up there with, like, Tim Pool. But Tim Pool felt confident enough to go out there and be like, oh man, this guy's not a good debater. Like, bro, you also suck at this, but I guess Dave might be slightly worse.
This is why I don't like people like Parker. First of all, the dude's famous for debating people who aren't good at debating. Now, in this instance, I don't know that Dave Rubin...
You can only debate who's fucking in front of you, bro. Like, what are you talking about?
He's a debater. He's a guy with opinions. I would argue that I have better answers than Dave has in this regard. This is why I'm not a fan of this stuff. I don't debate people who are stupid. We don't intentionally bring on people who are bad at this stuff so that I can get viral clips. I'd be much more famous and make a lot more money if I did.
It's worse off in terms of growth in 2025 as compared to 2024. If you look at Dow Jones and S&P 500.
They're both up quite a bit right now.
But lower growth rate.
Dave's not a debater. This is the problem I have with a lot of conservatives trying to go in and debate a dude who can rattle off metrics. And my response to Parker is, woohoo, graph go up. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Graph go up. Joe Biden, he got graph go up.
I don't know what the hell that was. It sounds like Tim wouldn't have done much better.
Thank you. He's like, I would have said this and the room would have cheered. It's like, actually, everybody would have laughed at you too.
But also Piers Morgan had on someone to try to defend Dave, and again, this was a disaster. This guy said he really likes Dave, but it still sounds like he realizes Dave isn't very good at this, because he gets asked, what does Dave contribute to the right-wing space? Which is a good question, because it seems like Dave only makes whatever movement he's part of look worse. Like, I don't know what he brings to the table, and even when his friend is asked about it here, he doesn't even try to say Dave's good at what he does or anything like that. He just says Dave's a good dude. But according to Piers, that's not even true. It's so funny, he immediately responds to Dave being called a good dude, and he's like, actually, he's not. Then he starts going off on him for being two-faced and calls him a duplicitous little shit.
I think I'm probably better than Dave at this, and I like Dave a lot, but I think I'm probably a little better than Dave at this.
Okay, well, let's
What is it that you like about Dave, Will? I'm actually so curious. Like, what does he contribute to the right-wing space?
I mean, he's just a good dude. Like,
Oh no. Dave somewhere watching this with tears flowing down his face.
we can just start there. Like,
do you know what? He's not really,
Yeah.
because I when I went to do Megyn Kelly's show in Miami and did Patrick Bet-David's, Dave Rubin asked me to go on his podcast, which involved going the wrong way out of Miami for an hour and then crisscrossing back to Patrick. And I said, you know what? I'll do it as a favor to a guy that's been on my show a lot. So I went and did all that, and literally about 3 months later, he's dumping all over me in public. And I was like, wow.
Let me guess, Piers, you dared to criticize Israel mildly, and that led to him completely and utterly crashing out?
You are a duplicitous little shit. And
Well,
you live and learn.
I can
But
only speak to my own
the idea
interactions.
that Dave Rubin is a good guy, I'm afraid is not borne out by my experience. I thought he was utterly,
Hold on. I want to vouch for what Will's saying.
So things just keep getting worse for Dave, and quite a few people have had a falling out with him or cut him off. He was too much of a grifter even for Joe Rogan. After a few podcasts, Rogan realized he was a bullshit artist and stopped having him on.
Now, let me just say, Dave used to be with the Young Turks Network. I also used to be with the Young Turks Network. Every now and then we used to talk. And I always say, there's very few people in this space who I have interactions with where I immediately get a weird feeling about it. With Dave, I did. And the reason why I did is because I remember talking to him one time, and he says to me, what's your end goal? What's your end goal? You want to be on TV? Is that what you want? And I found it so weird and bizarre because, like, no, dude, we're lucky to be in this space that we're in. Like, I've always cared about politics and liked politics. I have a political science degree. To get out here and talk about politics and have people listen to what I have to say, that's like a very humbling thing. I have no end goal. I don't care about careerism. I genuinely and sincerely like doing my show and like telling you guys about the news and the things I find interesting and tell you my breakdown of it, right? But to him, it was always like everything's a stepping stone. Everything's like there's a careerist angle of like I want to get from point A to point B, and it seems like it's just a vehicle for him to get known and become famous more than it has anything to do with the politics or the substance or trying to change the world and make it a better place or like enjoying doing it for the sake of doing it. It has this empty vibe of like naked careerism and ladder climbing, and I got that from him in a way where I can't say that about anybody else who I know in this industry who I've talked to behind the scenes.
Which Dave, of course, would complain about. He always seems really entitled to. Like, since Rogan didn't have him on, then he started trashing him. And during the last podcast they did, he kept pressuring Rogan to do his show, but Rogan clearly wasn't interested, so it was awkward. Like, Dave just sounds so insufferable. I mean, begging someone to do your podcast during a podcast is embarrassing. And apparently, even if you do him a favor and go on his show, which I don't think many people really care to do, like, it doesn't benefit Piers Morgan to go on there, but he decided to do Dave a favor, and in return, Dave talked shit behind his back. So it sounds like Dave probably burned that bridge, which was pretty stupid. You know, Piers is really popular, and he was nice enough to do Dave's show, but still, it's not enough. So I don't know how it's worth dealing with him, and it's crazy because he offers nothing, but he couldn't believe when Rogan wouldn't do his show, and then that Rogan cut him off.
Like when I do his show or he does I really enjoy that guy.
By the way,
I like him.
You do freaking Shapiro's show before my show?
Sorry.
What? The guy's had a show for 3 weeks.
I'll do a show.
What are you doing?
People are mad at me with the way I dressed. See that? Man, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, wait,
Always
hold
a
on.
pleasure.
Now I'm getting you official. You went to Shapiro before me.
Listen, just it happened. I was free that day. We'll do your show.
Will I go on Rogan's podcast? I asked him, and our PR people asked him about a bajillion times to go on for my book. We did not get a response as far as I know, so I don't know what happened there.
Oh, what a loser. And you do remember when Joe Rogan bodied Dave Rubin because Dave Rubin was arguing for no building codes, no regulations, no building codes. And Joe Rogan was like, are you insane? Like, you're going to let people cut corners and put, like, electric lines next to water lines and do subpar building standards and have, like, a fucking storm come through and knock down your house because there is no government regulation? Like, are you out of your mind? And he's like, well, no, I like that idea. Like, intellectually, I like that idea of, like, no regulation. He got bodied, and I think Rogan totally lost respect for him in that moment.
It's a little weird for me to say that publicly.
And then when Rogan stopped having him on, Dave started talking shit about him. So he's really petty, and he's always just been a useful idiot. Everyone knows that. But now he's not even useful anymore. You know, he's just an idiot. I don't know if there's any purpose for him. Like, for a while, his shtick was why I left the left, and that was working for him. Like, he got some big media deals, and I think Peter Thiel might have been backing him at one point. And then he got that Tenet Media deal, which was backed by Russia, and he's making $400,000 a month.
I always forget to bring this up all the time, but when you're talking about Tim Pool, you're talking about Dave Rubin, there was another guy like Matt Christensen, Lauren Chen was running this like fake company basically. It was a shell company to take Russian government money and funnel it to these, right-wing commentators. Like, total fucking like corrupt charity case in this space. Right? Like, literally the polar opposite. I always say, I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. I never will. You guys support the show from the ground up, and we have the default ads on YouTube, and that's it, right? And he's over there. His defense, by the way, was, I thought I was just taking money from some shadowy French billionaire. As if that would be okay. Like, sorry, you're not new media, you're not independent media, you're not your own thing, you're a little fucking cuck to the billionaire class and to Russia and to whatever government is willing to pay you. And by the way, I can think of another government that'd be willing to pay you.
Just to do a few YouTube shorts a week, I think it was, which is insane. The fact that somebody paid Dave Rubin that kind of money is obviously suspicious as hell. And even Megyn Kelly, who was friends with him, I don't know if she is anymore, but at the time she was, she told him not to take it because she knew it was suspicious. But of course, Dave didn't give a shit.
I said, who's funding this? And he said, it's a French businessman. And Dave would have no reason to lie to me that he said that explicitly. And not for nothing, but the conversation went on. And I will tell you that I told him not to do it. And that was not necessarily because I knew anything about the funding. We didn't get into that more than him saying it was this French guy. But I don't have good feelings about this Lauren Chen. And I was right.
So even people around him knew something was up, but of course Dave couldn't turn down that kind of money. And he lives a lavish lifestyle. According to Candace Owens, he lives way above his means. And he bought a $5 million house and got the money from Peter Thiel. Then when Thiel charged him interest on the loan, he of course got all annoyed about it.
I didn't even know about this one, bro. What? Peter Thiel gave Dave Rubin $5 million for his house? What? Oh my days! Oh no! Oh no, a literal direct cuck to the Epstein class. Oh my word.
Because that's like pocket change for Thiel.
He's such a cheap ass, okay, that it was one of the reasons him and Charlie had a falling out, and we'll get to that in a second. He likes to live above his means, and he told me that he needed $5 million to buy some house in some swanky neighborhood. So he went to his friend, billionaire Peter Thiel, and asked for $5 million. But Peter Thiel then asked for a percentage, like, I'm going to loan you this money, but if I'm going to be the bank of Thiel, you're going to pay interest. And he was, I can't believe he's a billionaire. This would be a drop in a bucket. He could just give me the $5 million.
Oh, it's so over for Dave. You know you're cooked when, like, you're embarrassingly terrible at your job, but also all these people who you think you're friends with fucking despise you.
He's literally talking trash about a guy that loaned him $5 million. Yeah. Right? Currently, he had loaned him $5 million. He was talking trash about him. So
now that Dave's career has fallen off, and I don't know if many people care to fund him anymore, I think he's getting desperate, and maybe that's why he took that debate. But after that, I think Trump should pay Dave not to advocate for him.
Glenn Greenwald says, it's sometimes frustrating to watch other people debate the topics on which I most focus because the person defending the view I agree with omits what I think are the most important and persuasive points. But here, every answer from this person destroying Dave Rubin is perfect. What's so amazing to me is he did literally no prep. None. Zero. Zilch. And it's like, God grant me the confidence of a Republican about to do a debate with no prep. Like, what the fuck? How? How do you do no prep? Like, you have to, it's literally a thing about Trump, and like, you're going to have a bunch of young liberal debate lords waiting to get a viral moment and make a name for themselves. They're like fucking piranhas in the water, nipping at your heels, and your ass is like, I'm an ideas man. I like ideas. I'm all about the battle place and the marketplace of ideas. And it's like, that's not going to work when you got motherfuckers citing the specific unemployment rate and the job creation rate and all these high-level economic numbers, and they know the exact policies Trump implemented and the exact reaction or what happened as a result of those things. Like, dog, you're cooked.
Only makes things worse. He's been getting absolutely cooked for that debate. I don't know how it benefits anyone to have him on their side. I guess he'll shamelessly promote propaganda. That's about it. But I feel like most people see through it, and Dave just makes a fool out of himself. Like recently, there was this compilation put together of him talking about the Iran war, and it's insane how bad his predictions are and how wrong he's been about everything and how full of shit he is. But he's been a grifter for so long, he has absolutely no shame about it. I mean, he has no problem bullshitting his audience and lying to them as long as the checks keep coming in. That's all that matters.
Allow me to make a prediction here in my prediction stuff. I'm not polymarket, I'm not call sheet, but I'm pretty good at predictions. And my prediction here is that everything that the media is now going to say about Iran's going to close the Strait of Hormuz and energy prices are going to go crazy and all these, none of this is going to come to pass. Gas prices are coming down and will continue to come down. If the United States wants to keep the Strait of Hormuz open, which it does, and Donald Trump said we'll escort ships through if we have to, it's going to stay open. Sounds like the Kurds are starting to enter the country with arms to help the people take out the last vestiges of the IRGC. There's a lot of good things happening. This is Iran.
That was total fake news.
And you can hear they are chanting Bibi June, Bibi Netanyahu.
This was an AI deepfake.
Iran, they are chanting praise for Benjamin Netanyahu.
By the way, let me just point out, Dave used to be one of the guys who claimed he was like a classic liberal, like more libertarian leaning. He used to say the thing about like, oh, I like Trump because no new wars, no new wars, no new wars. Then Trump does a massive illegal war against Iran and murders a bunch of little schoolgirls, and he's there with his pom-poms cheering for it. Why? Because he's so fucking pro-Israel, and Netanyahu and Israel want this war, and so he's now pro-Iran war, even though he used to be a no new wars guy. It's all so transparent and so fucking embarrassing.
Plotted this war, this extraordinary war that will be studied for decades, right?
Oh, it sure will be, just not in the way you want it to be.
For decades, they will study how this incredible war took place. And when we have a Department of War that is not looking for war, but will perform war, then we are going to do it at the maximum level of competency.
So this guy has no credibility left. I don't know how anyone can take it seriously. Also, I always forget he started as a comedian. He originally was just some shitty comedian, but he probably wasn't getting anywhere in the entertainment industry. So, of course, he switched to politics, which is a transition we see a lot from comedians.
I fucking hate that so much, man. Like, you got people like me who I always wanted to do this, right? I said to some people in high school, like, oh, I want to be an Air America radio host. That was like left-wing radio. And like, I've always wanted to do this shit. And then you got people like a failed comedian getting in this game. Like, fuck you. We're not your fucking fallback plan. This is supposed to be a serious thing that we're doing. What the fuck?
At least he's making people laugh now. You know, it's hilarious watching this guy debase himself. I mean, he's so bad at what he does. People like Tim Pool act like it's not even fair to make fun of him or debate him because everyone knows he's not very smart. You know, they treat him like he's disabled and people shouldn't be picking on him. I mean, even Joe Rogan implied that Dave is cognitively limited.
Is there a difference between, say, what Sam Cedar does to Dave Rubin?
Mental incompetent, do you mean that they're ignorant or that they're mentally ill or cognitively limited?
Cognitively limited. But
and that's from Joe Rogan, who's also cognitively limited.
Dave, there's enough moments where he's misstepped where they just feel like, okay, we got a wounded antelope.
Yeah.
We got a wounded antelope. Oh no, Dave. Oh no. Did you know Dave likes to take every full August off? You know, Dave, I think you might want to start that vacation a little early this year, dog. I think you might want to go back to the drawing board on this one. You'd be better off doing shitty D-tier Hallmark movies and trying to act in that than continuing to humiliate yourself in the realm of politics. Oh my word. You guys have no idea how amazing it feels to finally be vindicated about all these charlatans and these con men and these frauds. Because you got to understand, there was a extended period of time there where, he made his right-wing pivot and his numbers were colossal and people were watching him. And I remember playing golf one time with somebody and the guy's my age. And this is back when, I don't know, 6 years ago, something like that. And the guy's like, oh, you heard of Dave Rubin? Or it was maybe even 9 years ago. Oh, you heard of Dave Rubin? Yeah, sometimes I watch his stuff. And now it's at the point where no, you're just a laughingstock. So these frauds who grew big audiences, to see them be exposed as frauds has been very glorious to me because it shows that look, on a long enough timeline, the truth prevails. And on a long enough timeline, people will see through the ones who are completely and utterly full of shit, like Dave Rubin.
Not that Jubilee debate should be ashamed of themselves for debating someone they know is cognitively limited. It's so funny. Dave is so bad at his job. People almost act like it's bullying to goof on him or debate him. Like Jubilee shouldn't have asked him because they know he's not all there. I mean, it's pathetic that he has to be treated like that. You know, I think it's even more insulting than the people making fun of him because they're basically just like, what did you guys really prove? Dave's an idiot. Of course. Everyone knows that already. So it's rough, but Dave's a grifter and he put himself in that situation. That's why nobody has sympathy for him. He's a total sellout. And I guess since there are people that fund him and take him seriously, he really overestimated himself doing this debate. He forgot that he's cognitively limited. So he just seemed totally lost during this.
Dave Rubin airing his humiliation kink publicly. I just came for the comments and they did not disappoint. I don't know how Dave's husband agreed to his partner getting railed like this. You know what's crazy? Bro, don't take my word for it. You go look at it yourself. But anytime there's a Jubilee thing and it's like a conservative versus a bunch of liberals, the liberals always destroy the conservative. They're just like objectively better and smarter and more intelligent and more well-read. But when you flip it and it's like one liberal or leftist versus a bunch of conservatives or MAGA people or far-right people, the far-right people are always so fucking deranged. And again, the liberal wins. I mean, it really is like... I know Jubilee is just trying to make a quick buck off like division and shit like that, but it really does highlight how like one side is just mentally, completely, and utterly gone. Like they're just, it's just a total death cult packed full of like the worst people in the country. And it's proven over and over again.
I don't think he prepared for it at all. Like people think he has a humiliation kink or something because obviously this was going to be a disaster. Anybody could have told you that. I mean, it seems like everybody left and right are like, what the hell was he thinking agreeing to do this?
I'm not done though. So I show you all of that to show you this. Ready? This is his massive cope session with what's-her-face from The Biggest Loser, who now fancies herself political as well. And oh my word, dude, you couldn't come up with anything better than this. You had time to prep and plan what you're going to say in response to the whole world saying you're the worst debater of all time, and this is the best you could come up with. Prepare yourself. However bad you think it is, wrong. It's worse. Listen to what he says.
I honestly believe several of them would have killed me if given the opportunity, truly. And you all know my guy Joey, who works for me, and he said to me after, he said, Dave, I made a choice halfway through that if one of them was going to attack you, I was going to get involved.
How am I supposed to even respond to that? Bro is literally saying I was physically threatened. I was getting so fucking beat down and humiliated in the battlefield of ideas that, like, my life was in danger. Bro, you have, like, skinny little 20-somethings who are, like, reading statistics at night for fun, and they're gonna do physically hurt. Are you kidding? I think it's time to call it. I think, look, I've participated myself in many viral debate beatdowns that I think are up there with the greatest of all time. Go check out my debate with Razor Fist on the Drunken Peasants. That guy still hasn't recovered from the beatdown I put on him. You can go check out my debate with Charlie Kirk. I destroyed his ass too. You can go check out, oh shit, my Piers Morgan appearance with Michael Knowles, which went viral because I beat his little smug ass into the ground as well. So I think I'm up there, right? I think Crystal's up there too in terms of like greatest debate type shit of all time. There's a bunch of lefties who are solid, but I have to say, I think this is better than literally any of mine because they humiliated him so thoroughly that now he's going out there and saying, oh yeah, well, of course I performed bad because I thought they were going to murder me. On camera in front of Jubilee? What the fuck are you talking about? Oh my word. Oh no, Dave. Oh no. Oh no. So anyway, unsubscribe from him if you're subscribed. I know none of you are subscribed, but it'd be funny to see a total exodus from his channel and see him have to pick up a different line of work at whatever fucking age he is. Because he never had the chops to be in this field. Fucking ever. And now everybody is realizing that at the same time. All right, y'all. That's the show. Love y'all very much as always. You know the drill. Everybody do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel. Click that bell icon. You can also support the show on Patreon. That link is below. Sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. And go sub to Corin's World. All right, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Hey, y'all. Do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, guys. I've been off the air for like, I don't know, 2 hours, something like that, and I already have like massive major breaking news here for you. So as I speak right now, there are explosions currently happening all across Iran. You have air sirens going off all over the place. Early reports indicate that the U.S. is currently bombing in Tehran and Moore and Kish Island, among other places. There's also some evidence that Iran has also scrambled their own fighter jets to respond to U.S. fighter jets. It appears to be a very, very widespread attack that's happening right now. At the same time, there apparently were hints that the U.S. was dropping throughout the day. So Mike Huckabee came out earlier and said things may get a bit spicy in the neighborhood soon, seemingly teasing that the U.S. is about to do another major attack. Trump said earlier, quote, "We're going to be attacking them. We hit them hard yesterday. We're going to hit them again. We're going to hit them again, hard again today." You also have reports of a B-52 bomber in Saudi airspace coming from a U.S. base in Italy. Like I told you, apparently we had a lot of like backup and support that was in the region, more so than even, the so-called 12-day war. So it looks like from the attack the other day, the U.S. was planning for like a long-term thing here. And it looks like they're delivering on a long-term thing. But the B-52 bomber is obviously something that's terrifying. Now, Iran came out and said that, the U.S. attacked their oil infrastructure the other day. We talked about that on the show today. Well, now we know, according to the Financial Times, that 20,000 people were left without water because we hit the reservoir tanks. 20,000 people. So let me be clear about that, ladies and gentlemen. That is a war crime. That is terrorism. There's no gray area there. You're just flat out going after civilian stuff. And in a world that made sense, every single person who was involved in this decision to attack the water would immediately be arrested. Okay? In a world that made sense, they would be immediately arrested because if anybody else did it to us, we would at least want them arrested. In reality, we'd probably try to take them out before the end of the day. All right? So just disturbing and disgusting stuff. Pete Hegseth also came out and he said the following. He was at Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay. What? Okay, what are you doing there? Well, he says, quote, "As President Trump said, they've been tapping, talking about Iran tapping us along in terms of not actually wanting a deal, right? Instead, they're going to have to tap bombs dropping on key facilities in Iran from the United States of America." So literally like bragging and rubbing it in that we're about to attack them like minutes before we actually attack them. He also said CENTCOM will be busy tonight because Trump said we'll be hitting Iran hard, and we will be. He wrapped up his press event by saying, quote, "We'll strike them hard tonight, and hopefully Iran makes a good decision. Thank you." I don't even know what that means. What does that mean, they make a good decision? Honestly, we're the ones who've been tapping them along. We're the ones who've had no interest in an actual peace deal. So it's just insane watching this unfold the way it's unfolding. A reporter asked Pete Hegseth, if the response is hitting bridges and electrical infrastructure, how is that not a war crime? So, oh yeah, that's right. Trump, I forgot to tell you, Trump also said earlier, we're going to attack their bridges and shit. It's like, bro, you can't say we're going to attack their electrical infrastructure and their bridges and then, act surprised when the whole world goes, oh wow, you guys are fucking criminals. So Hegseth responded to that and said, that's precisely the kind of disingenuous question I'm used to from the media, impugning the motives of the folks on our side. There's nothing disingenuous about that. It is the most direct, straightforward, obvious question one would ask. If you come out and say, call me War Crimesington, they're going to go, okay, well, why is it okay when you do war crimes? There's no gotcha in that. That's just like, hey, hold yourself up to basic international law standards, you fucking freak. Okay. Then also, I wanted to tell you, in the same press conference in Guantanamo Bay, Pete Hegseth said, our message to Cuba is don't get into the game where you are threatening Americans or the American homeland because that won't go well. So now also threatening Cuba at the same time, he threatens an imminent attack on Iran, which we're currently delivering on. If this doesn't show you how completely and utterly unhinged this regime is, I don't know what will. The fact that we literally kidnapped the leader of Venezuela and are stealing their oil and stealing their gold. The fact that we're bombing Nigeria and Ecuador and we're threatening fucking Canada and Panama and Mexico and all these different places. They are completely and utterly unhinged. And this is why the world is turning on us and why this country will never be the same after MAGA fascism. Hegseth also said, these Gitmo detainees should have been executed, in my mind, personally, a long time ago. So that's just an insane thing to say. Guantanamo Bay is an extrajudicial prison where we rounded up people and sent them there during the war on terror. Come to find out, the overwhelming majority of the people there were not terrorists. We ended up rounding up innocent people. Absolutely horrific stuff. As I said, Pete Hegseth might be taking a trip to Gitmo right now. But you know what? Under the next Democratic president, he should also be taking a trip to Guantanamo Bay for a very fucking different reason, if you ask me. And then finally, and this is probably the biggest news that I wanted to leave you with, the legendary journalist Seymour Hersh has now come out and claimed that an administration insider leaked information to him that Trump raised the possibility of using nuclear weapons in Iran. So here's what it says in the piece. It was amid what could be called a what-to-do meeting that a frustrated and angry Trump, perhaps only thinking out loud, raised the issue of using low-yield nuclear weapons to destroy some of Iran's underground missile factories. I was told by someone with extensive knowledge of nuclear weaponry that it was a very scary and very serious moment. The president was depicted at this point to be desperate not to lose in Iran. His idea was to warn the Iranian leadership that we are very seriously considering such an escalation. I was told that the president apparently was talked out of any thought of nuclear escalation. At least one of the aides at the meeting came away disappointed or even shocked that an American president would talk so openly and casually about initiating a nuclear war in the Middle East. Trump's words were seen by the aides as just another sign of what seemed to be his inability to control dark thoughts, as when he crudely attacked Pope Leo this spring, and the Pope replied, "Blessed are the peacemakers." So he's already, publicly threatened nuclear weapons a number of times. He's threatened civilization annihilation. But now, apparently, we're told that behind the scenes, he floated the idea seriously to his cabinet and to his advisors. If that's not terrifying to you, I don't know what the fuck is, man. Because as I've pointed out, this guy is sundowning. This guy has dementia. This guy's rotting both physically and mentally. He's not of sound mind. And at the same time he's doing that, he's plunging the globe into a Great Depression. And he's starting a new war every other week with another innocent country. And they're talking about potentially nuking Iran. This guy should have been taken out of power a long time ago. Impeach him, 25th Amendment, whatever the fuck has to be done. Bro has got to go away. He's got to go away. This is unsustainable. Now, by the way, just wait and see. This is big bombshell news. You go check and let me know how many places are actually going to talk about this and cover this, or how many places are just going to bury their fucking head in the sand and act like everything's fine and like there's no problem here. Very, very disturbing stuff. The psychotic president of the United States is openly discussing nuking Iran, and this is happening. We're learning about this at the same time we're doing another bombing raid. I told you I'm worried about this because there's irreconcilable differences that Trump will never agree to some of the things Iran is asking for, even though he should. And so what will he do when he's in a corner and there's no way out? He's just going to try to fucking bomb his way out of the corner. He might use a Moab, a mother of all bombs. He might use chemical weapons, biological weapons. Lord only knows the shit he might do. But he's considering nuclear weapons and floated it behind the scenes. This should freak everybody the fuck out, and he needs to be taken out of power. Every media outlet should cover this. Every Democrat should talk about this. Get this motherfucker out of there. It's enough already.